Hello everyone, and in this video we're going to explore how you can write a 4-mark answer for Paper 3 Section A of the EDEXCEL English Literature A2 qualification. Now we've already looked at how you plan response, we've also looked at how the mark scheme wants you to include certain things in that response. Let's look at how we write the response itself. So here's a question once more. Explore the ways in which heroism is presented in The Volunteer by Herbert Asquith and one other poem. Now remember, these aren't the poems that you'd have studied, but the skills required are exactly the same. So writing it, well, our introduction, so where do you stand on your argument? State your argument, nice and obvious. You might want to suggest which poems you are choosing and why, and then what the central theme of your essay will be, so what you're going to include and how you're going to include it. In terms of your main paragraphs, well, this is a method you may want to be employing. So introduce your topic for your first, for your essay. Explore poem number 1, form, structure and language, how it proves what you're saying is true. Then compare that with poem number 2. Then do the same over and over again. You might want to put the 2 poems into separate paragraphs. You might want to, if you require it, put them in an integrated fashion. Either way, you can achieve 4 marks. The conclusion will refer back to your question and your overall argument. You may also want to consider which you felt was more effective when dealing with the theme of why, that's you evaluating. And then essentially you may want to come up with a kind of a summative, kind of conclusive final comment, possibly. So let's look at the question once more. Then let's look at how we answer it. Both Asquith and Pope indeed write with the intention of highlighting a sense of heroism within their poems. Asquith's work, The Volunteer, writes in a manner which intends to glorify the sacrifice soldiers were about to make in search of honour, linking their bravery to the heroes of the past. Pope, however, whilst emulating a certain sense of bravery, has chosen to shy away slightly from the potential dangers of war and instead highlight the sense of adventure which war can be portrayed as creating. So there's my argument overall. I've already started to compare. I've already started to make minor contextual references, but not necessarily required. Asquith's The Volunteer is easily recognisable as a traditional patriotic war poem for several reasons. Firstly, the antiquated language makes war sound idealistic. Asquith describes a clerk with no lance broken in life's tournament. He uses a euphemism to suggest that he has no experience of war and is yet to discover the satisfaction of battle. Furthermore, the reference to chivalry harkens to knights in shining armour, suggesting that men who go to war are traditionally heroic figures, in medieval games highlighting the sport of war. Furthermore, the subject of the poem escapes his unsatisfactory life in a city grey by reading with past heroic figures, by reading with bright eyes, about the gleaming eagles of the legions and the men of Agincourt. Once again, Asquith lists past heroic figures such as the Roman army to suggest that war places the once grey, suggesting boring and lifeless figure, in a position of immortality, highlighting the heroic nature of war. Indeed, the constant use of iambic pentameter not only helps to stress words such as now to highlight the positive impact of war to the reader, but create a meter which suggests marching, reflecting the strong, organised and heroic soldiers who have gone before. Now it's time for my link and my comparison. In this way, Asquith likens war to a game, much like Jesse Pope in the recruitment poem Who's for the Game, which encouraged men to sign up by comparing war to a football match, using the reference to sporting heroes rather than military ones. Rather than using the same syllabic structure, Pope reverts to a shorter style in order to highlight the thrill and excitement of combat, rather than highlight a sense of organisation and order that Asquith uses to reassure the reader. Pope's lexical choices are far more active than Asquith's, using sporting semantic fields such as tackle and grip to reinforce the idea of taking part rather than be on the sidelines acting in a cowardly manner. Furthermore, both poets use a split structure in order to highlight the heroics of war, whereas Asquith uses a 2-stanza structure to demonstrate the eternal heroism associated with dying for one's country, dreams are satisfied. Pope uses an alternative rhyme scheme to present a sense of sides, the heroic men who participated and the cowards who want a seat in the stand. It is clear, therefore, that Asquith and Pope's poems perpetuate a heroic vision of war. And then you can see I've put the sentence starter for the start of my next point. But there you go. So there is a form, structure and language, links of comparison all the way through. To conclude, both poems wrote their work with the same intention, to highlight the positive nature of war with the intention of recruiting men for the front line. That said, the two poets achieved that aim using heroism in slightly different ways. Pope uses it to reflect cowardice if one doesn't play in the game, whilst Asquith uses it to create a sense of grandeur for the cause. It's clear that based on the notion of heroism, Asquith's work is more effective in this sense, due to his ability to exploit our fear of being considered unimportant and forgotten. So there you go. That's how we structure our conclusion to achieve marks and maintain our argument. Well done. Keep revising. Good luck.